to Are You Experienced? I'm very happy to have my friend Pat Nason on this week's episode. Hello, Pat.
Hi, Cynthia.
Yeah, you just did a show at the Write-Off Room?
No, I wish.
Sorry, what was it?
It was the Writer's Room. It's
Writer's Room.
It's the name of a series that Greg Gilman runs.
Yeah, I know him.
North end of Hollywood. And it's down there on Yucca between Wilcox and Cahuenga.
Right.
And they reopened, and we had, it was a nice turnout, and a lot of friends came up for the night. It's a singer-songwriter in the round type of deal. And yeah, it was just a ball.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I love your story, because this show focuses on like the second part of life, maybe after 40, and your music journey since then, from when you were younger. And I know that you didn't do music for a long time. You had a completely different career, and later in life, you picked up music again, right?
Yes.
And I wanted you to share that story because it's so inspiring, because it really opened up your life, right, in a different direction.
It's like having a whole new life, almost a separate life. Because so much about it is so different from what it used to be. But I was a professional journalist all my life, since 1968.
Yes.
And then I retired in 2014. And around 2008 or 2009, I picked up the guitar again. I had put it away for 20 years. And picked it up again and then started writing songs. And then I thought, well, okay, let's get the songs out and see what happens.
And so you looked back at some older songs that you had written a long time ago.
I had songs written when I was, I had some really bad songs, because you write really bad songs when you first start writing songs.
That is true.
For
most people.
And they still haven't seen the light of day. But I had some songs from the old days that were, pretty good. So I've got some songs from 40 years ago that I'm actually, right now, putting a couple of them on a recording project.
And so you changed them, or you...
Yeah, well, I learned how to play them. I learned how to sing them. That's the big difference. And I reworked a little bit of lyric. I have one song from 40 years ago that I tried. I just couldn't remember the whole song. So I took what I remembered, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, I wrote a whole new bridge. And so the song itself is a hybrid. It's a little old, it's a little newish. And that's difficult. That's such a big time span, 40 years when you first write something. So how did you bridge that with your experience in life now from back then? That's a really good question, because the experience and the seasoning actually informed not just sort of the ability to write a new bridge, but it actually informed the idea behind the new bridge. It was like all of a sudden the song made sense in a new way that it never had before, because it was about something that it couldn't possibly have been about 40 years ago.
So the bridge, the literal word for bridge in music, and it did that task.
Yeah, it did. And it gave it, and I think of it as a newish song, because now it's, I don't know what I'd say, 6 or 7, 8 years old now. But since I don't write a whole lot, I write a song or two a year, maybe. So stuff that I've written in the last 10 years, I consider almost all of it new.
Right.
So so I came out and started singing and playing, and I met a lot of people, and I learned a lot of stuff, and I got a lot of seasoning. And in that time, I've gone from when I first started to go out and play, I didn't even know where to stash my guitar case. I'd walk into an open mic or whatever.
Right.
I knew nothing. And
were you nervous?
Yeah.
Was it more nervous just being around these people, or actually playing, or both?
Both. It was. I was nervous playing, but I was really more nervous especially engaging people who, it seemed to me, who really knew what they were doing, who had been around. People who, some people who've been playing for 40 years, and some people who were knowing each other for 20 or 30 years. And I felt like, I'm not in this club. I'm just kind of, hanging on the edge, around the fringe, and,
right.
And I don't know what to say. I don't know how to be. I don't know, and then when I would meet somebody who, I'd have this notion that, oh, this person's heavy.
they can get me in somewhere. Now I gotta be right. I gotta behave right.
Right.
There's always this question in your mind of, are you really interested in this person, or are you just interested in what they can do for you? And that conversation went on back and forth in my head for a long time.
Right.
And I'm at the point, and that still happens. I mean,
Sure.
it still happens. I mean, there's people I'm still nervous around, but we've actually come up. Some of them have actually talked to them about that. I said, is it okay if I get a little nervous around you? And then they laugh and they say, "What are you talking? Why would you be nervous around me?" And but the seasoning really comes in. It makes a big difference.
Right. I was going to say, when you're older, you have more wisdom. And even though, I've suffered nerves and all that, but it's a different kind of nerves than I suffered in my 20s and 30s. It's a more mature. Now I'm like really intimate with my nerves. But no, but I was going to ask you, especially the writer's room, there's probably quite a lot of young people that frequent that too.
Absolutely.
So how is that, being an older musician and navigating the young person's world in music?
That's on topic right now, because the other night I went in there and pretty much everybody in the place was, I guess the median age was probably 32, something like that. 32 and then you. Take me and Kathy out of the room, and the median age dips down to 29. But for one thing, my daughter Lena came to the show, and her boyfriend Christian. Lena is just turned 30, and Christian's roughly the same age, and it put me at ease to have them there with me, and some friends. Your
young beards.
Yeah, my cred. Yeah, and so when I was thinking about, what am I going to play? It's a song circle, and so when my turn to play came, I didn't make any decisions ahead of time what I was going to play. I thought, I'm going to just catch the flow, see what feels like a good choice, and so I decided that my first song was going to be a song that I have that's called "Love in the Time of the Senior Discount," and it's a song about how love persists, and there's this older couple, and their bodies are just breaking down, but they still love each other. And when I sometimes when you hold my hand and look into my eyes, it's just amazing. I still see the pretty girl who stole my heart and gave me love and drove me crazy. Yeah. And it's this sweet song. It's a little earthy too, Anyway, but I introduced it, and the crowd was generous enough to listen, and I let them know. I said, some of you probably caught on. I'm an older fella, and so I'm just here to show you what you all have to look forward to. This is it. And then I told them about the lead into the song, and they listened and they heard the song, and we connected. It worked out great. And then the next two songs, I didn't have to explain a thing.
Right, that's interesting. So younger people are open to your music, and you had good interactions with younger people.
In this space on this night, because it's a singer-songwriter night.
Right.
People came into that place specifically I guess probably some people wandered in for a pint, but mostly people were in there because they wanted to hear singer-songwriter. They wanted to hear some good songs. And and if you have good songs and you know how to sing them and play them, and you don't let yourself get terribly distracted by a lot of the clutter, you can have a good time. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So what is the most challenging thing as you get older with music, do you think?
Well, for me, the most challenging thing is, physical energy is really an issue.
Physical energy. I'm feeling that in my mid-40s. Schlepping my stuff around. And
I don't have to schlep too much stuff around. I got a guitar.
Yeah.
And that's not much. But my pandemic lemonade that I made is that we got an exercise bike, and I just get on the exercise bike 4 or 5 times a week for 30, 40, 45 minutes, depending. And it makes a big difference. And my energy turns out to be pretty good. Before the pandemic, I had just begun to reach out to venues in Texas. I had a connection in Texas. There's a cute story. The last Far West conference up in Woodland Hills, a guy came up to me, and he operates a house concert series in Austin. And he came up to me and he said, "I saw you at the showcase this afternoon, and I came up to your showcase room tonight to hear you some more." And he said, "I'm not going to kid you when I tell you this, Cynthia." He said, "You are my find of the conference."
Ooh, nice. And there's a lot of people at that conference.
Yeah. And so we connected, and that was the October of 2019. And then for the rest of the year, and then early into 2020, I was reaching out and putting a system together where I had a real nice directory of all the venues in Austin and Central Texas, leading all the way up toward the border of Oklahoma, reaching out and making contacts and talking about setting up.
You were going to go on your first tour?
I was going to set up my first tour, and then the pandemic came. And the reason why, for me, that's was especially disappointing is because it took me a long time to get the nerve up to go, yeah, I can justify asking people to let me play in their living room. I can justify asking people to drop $1 in the hat. Because when I first started coming out and playing and singing, I couldn't justify it because I didn't know how to sing and play my songs. We've had this conversation before.
Yes.
So
you've grown.
Grown immeasurably, and I'm not finished growing. And I used to tell myself the story about, I'm going to be 73 this year.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know that.
I knew it.
You didn't forget.
and I used to tell myself the story about how, it's too bad that you're just now figuring out how to do this because it's too late.
Yeah, sometimes I tell myself that too.
Yeah, but the story now, the new story is it's not too late.
I love that.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Well, that's a great place to end. And then we're going to hear a song. What song are you going to play?
Well, I like to play the Cliché Song, I think.
It's been so nice having you on the show and
Well,
talking to you after all this time, a year.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Very kind
you're welcome.
invitation.
Thank you.
This song is called the Cliché Song. And you probably should take notes. Get something to write with and write this down. Because it has all the wisdom of the ages, everything you need to know to get through this crazy world. Life is what you make it, and the best things in life are free. Just do your damnedest, you're gonna make the grade. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And don't bite off more than you can chew. And when life hands you a dilemma, you just make a lemonade. Yeah, I said it. And don't go for the big one every time. Life's a bitch, and then you die. And pride always goes before the fall. You know that you can't win them all. Don't let your big ambition drive you blind. And don't go for the big one every time. Keep your powder dry and keep your fingers crossed. And don't burn that old candle at both ends. There's no time like the present. He who hesitates is lost. So make every minute count, 'cause you won't pass this way again. And don't just sit there crying in your beer when you feel like you had it up to here. Just get right back up on your horse, say your prayers or use the force. The day will surely come, you'll need those tears. Don't waste a one just crying in your beer. the drama for your mama and put your shoulder to the wheel. This world may not be perfect, but it's the only game in town. And there's no need to bang your head against the wall. You know it's all for one and one for all. And don't carry more than you can hold, and all that glitters is not gold. Don't try to knock the cover off the ball. Don't slam your head against the wall. And don't go for the big one every time. Life's a bitch and then you die. And pride always goes before the fall. You know that you can't win them all. Don't let your big ambition drive you blind. Don't go for the big one every time. Don't go for the big